welcome to my first video blog, my third blog in general on my site. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Whoever's actually joining the site right now, that's okay though. We look to build that. I want to talk about the President's news conference held this morning. It took a little bit less than an hour. I'm sure if you were recording anything, on TiVoing anything, or just actually at home watching TV this morning you saw, or at work, wherever, everyone stopped, all the news channels stopped for this news conference, which actually was the first in quite a while because they were renovating the space. So it kind of made news in that standpoint. But also, he's coming back on the heels to push for support, to push for the Iraq War. Many GOP members are now somewhat pulling back from their support of the president, pulling back from their support of the Iraq War for multiple reasons. Number one, the president's approval rating is at 26%, and even if most of you aren't quite sure what that really means to Congress, if you've ever seen the movie The American President, that means a lot to Congress, to whereas one congressman may not be that recognizable to his own constituents if he's with the party of the president or can somehow get a picture with the president at a high approval rating, that helps the congressman's approval rating. But if they're against it during low approval ratings, that helps the congressman's approval ratings and their notoriety with their own constituents. So kind of using a large anchor to help swing back and forth their popularity and their chance for re-election. So which I actually think many GOP members teaming up against the president says a lot about his loss of power with his own party. Back in 2000, he seemed to be the wonder child once he received the nomination, won the election. He had the Republican Party within his hands, especially after 9/11, and his power grapple is losing strength. Number one, his power grapple over the opinions of the United States, over the citizenry, most definitely showed its lack of power back in 2006 of November. And now within his own party, dissent is growing more and more, especially over the Iraq War. Not only is it an easy way out, in my opinion, for politicians, is to say, I'm against the Iraq War, I have my own idea for it, back and forth. It's most definitely an easy way out. There's no easy way to go in there and try to fix the situation. So he's really, President Bush is getting attacked for that. He mentioned that there's political reconciliation and in Iraq, and the people on the ground are sick and tired of the violence, meaning the people of Iraq. I really question the political reconciliation. He mentions the Anbar province. He was talking top down, down up reconciliation, political structure in Iraq. It's just not working in Iraq. Number one, if they can't provide their own authority militarily or with their own word of mouth, the government cannot work. A government has to have authority. A government must have authority within intellectuals on all levels of people. And the criminal kinds, of course, that's not going to work out so much. And there are many, many criminals in Iraq. Al-Qaeda cells are growing. He mentioned, he was questioned actually about Al-Qaeda, and he mentioned that if we were to fail, of course, the big fear tactic, Al-Qaeda would follow us. Well, if you ask me, Al-Qaeda is ready to strike once again within the United States, if they were smart. If they're going to actually fall for this, follow the mouse over here to Iraq, attack us in Iraq as opposed to the United States, they know they're not going to get that much of a response. The Al-Qaeda cells actually in Iraq were not formed during Saddam Hussein's dictatorship. They were not formed until afterwards, and then declared their allegiance to Osama bin Laden, which Bush admitted himself, which to me admits that there was no logical reason for invading Iraq except to topple Saddam Hussein. And I've always said, if he would have told me that right away, I'd have said fine, except we need a better exit strategy, which he did not set up. This huge web that he actually set up for himself today. So let me get back on track real quick. Political reconciliation, people on the ground being sick and tired of violence. We in the United States, a majority of people Wives, husbands, mothers, daughters, sons, families, neighbors are sick and tired of having to send their loved ones to Iraq from them coming back in body bags. We're sick and tired of the violence here. Not that we, I guess not that we turn it off all the time from the media or news or anything like that. We're not sick and tired of the media reporting it. It's actually a good reminder to us of what's actually going on. It's rather sick that we're having to look at these brave men, women in our armed forces and tell them that they have to constantly go back into a situation where either we're not giving them the tools to win or we're not setting realistic goals for them. If it can't be done, it can't be done, unfortunately, or we need to set a more realistic stance for it. The Iraqi people are not ready for democracy. Like I said before, if the government doesn't have the authority, it doesn't have any power. And if we have to provide the authority and the power, then that government will never work. That's why it's wrong for our troops to be in Iraq. We cannot act under the Iraqi government's name. The Iraqi government has to act for itself. The Iraqi people never said that they wanted democracy. That has actually been one of the staple arguments of the Bush administration recently, that they went out, they voted in their polls, they had their little purple fingers, look at us, we voted. Yes, they voted. They took the one non-violent course of action that they could take at the time to speak up for themselves. The only option given to that, to go to the polls. That does not mean that they wanted democracy. I do not believe the polling places ever actually asked them if they wanted a democratic government. We just assumed that. That's just a ploy that the administration has used, a very good twist of words. They've always been a very good word machine. Good grief. If I could employ that word machine, I would be president of the United States right now. It's ridiculous how smart and witty these people are. I just happen to think that they're working for malicious intent overall. Not that they probably couldn't be bought to a different way, but that's a different story. But the Iraqi people never said that they wanted democracy. They could want a monarchy, for all I care. I don't really care. I think what's more important is self-determination for the Iraqi people. Self-determination gave birth to democracy in the United States, gave birth to democracy in France, and to the rest of the Western world. Self-determination unshackled the bonds of imperialism left by Great Britain, other Western European nations, to allow people to decide for themselves what they want. Us moving in militarily and removing a dictatorship who murdered thousands. He was a horrible, horrible person, bent on power, bent on keeping power, and he didn't care who he stomped on, who he killed. It was ridiculous, the torture he would put his own people through. He was a bad person. He did not deserve to be in power. If President Bush had just said that he was only going in there to remove Saddam Hussein, I would have supported that. I believe our troops would have gladly have gone in to fight for a humanitarian issue in that. But they will not stand by while an administration has had to exhaust the series of lies that they set up for going into the war in Iraq without an actual plan, a logical, sensible plan for action. Freedom is a universal value, and I couldn't agree more, but democracy cannot be forced upon people. They have to want it. And they didn't topple Saddam Hussein themselves. They didn't actually take that power for their own reins to do that. So that's where I believe that President Bush and his administration is and will continually be in the wrong about the Iraq war and where they're taking us, and which makes them very incompetent leadership overall. As now, that's my speech, that's my spiel. You are more than welcome to comment, thrash me, trash me, tear me a new one. I don't care. I support free debate in all of its terms. We'll make it heated. We'll hit the table quite a few times. We'll make noises. We'll throw chairs. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. But please comment. Please keep coming back, that sort of thing. I hope you guys enjoyed my first blog. It'll also be available on YouTube if you just want to search YouTube at joshuaderby.com is the member name right there, and you'll be able to pull that up. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks a lot for listening.